The efficacy results with multikinase, tyrosine kinase inhibitors are better in patients with RET alterations, medullary thyroid carcinoma patients with RET alterations, and are not as efficacious in patients with non-small cell lung cancer that have RET alterations in their tumor. The precise reasons are not clear. However, it is important to note that the RET alterations observed in medullary thyroid carcinoma are mutations, whereas the RET alterations in non-small cell lung cancer are fusions. And it is possible that these multikinase inhibitors are much better at inhibiting RET in tumors that have mutations as compared to patients whose tumors have RET translocations. Another suggestion that this reason may be true, is that in non-small cell lung cancer, it has been observed, at least in some trials, that the multikinase tyrosine kinase inhibitors are efficacious in certain RET translocations as compared to others. So the partner genes with RET translocations can be different, with the most common partner gene being KIF5B. And what has been observed is that these multi-kinase tyrosine kinase inhibitors may not be as efficacious in non-small cell lung cancer patients whose tumors have RET alterations, where the partner gene is KIF5B. Whereas if there are other genes that are the partner genes, then in those patients, the multi-kinase inhibitors might be more efficacious. So there could be several reasons that could account for this difference, but yes, it is important to note that multikinase tyrosine kinase inhibitors are not as efficacious in non-small cell lung cancer patients with RET translocations in their tumor as compared to medullary thyroid carcinoma patients who have RET mutations in their tumor. We have very limited data of use of immunotherapy as frontline treatment for patients with targetable alterations. It's important to note that in many of the frontline immunotherapy trials, specifically patients whose tumors are EGFR or EGFR mutations or ALK translocations were excluded from the study. And therefore, we have very limited data of use of IOs in as frontline therapy for patients with targetable alterations. The only data we really have as frontline therapy is in patients with EGFR mutations. And what was observed is that use of IO, at least as single agent in these patients, actually led to very poor results with a response rate of only approximately about 12% and extremely limited progression-free survival. Though we don't have data in patients with other targetable alterations, I think the experience in patients with EGFR alterations has led to a great deal of caution in using at least single agent IOs as frontline therapy in patients with targetable alterations. So both cabozantinib and vandetanib, as well as certain other drugs that are used primarily as VEGF inhibitors, have also activity against RET. And therefore, these drugs were evaluated in relatively small phase 2 studies as treatments for patients with RET translocated non-small cell lung cancer. It is important to note that in almost all these patients, enrolled in these trials were previously treated with multiple different treatments before. And so the data has to be viewed in that context. What these studies showed that the response rates with agents such as cabozantinib and vandetanib was in the range of about 16% to 50%. And the median progression-free survival ranged from about 2.3 to about 7 months. So efficacy was observed, but the efficacy was reasonably modest and not comparable to what we observe with targeted therapy in patients with other genetic alterations such as EGFR and ALK. So these drugs are mentioned in the NCCN guidelines for the management of RET translocated non-small cell lung cancer. However, in general, these agents are used in subsequent lines of therapy because the benefit is fairly limited. And an important aspect of these drugs is because these drugs not only inhibit RET, but do inhibit other molecular targets, that these drugs do have more toxicities, particularly toxicities associated with VEGF inhibition, such as fatigue, diarrhea, and other GI symptoms, which also further limits the applicability of these agents in routine practice. I did not specifically participate in the studies of these drugs, but I have personally used this off study in patients. I would say about 3 patients. And the experience was very similar to what has been reported in the clinical trials, with a very modest response rate. I believe only one of the 3 patients had some evidence of response, and the 2 other patients had essentially stable disease. And all the 3 patients progressed about 3 to 4 months after starting on therapy.